To win a race, especially Le Mans, would be the greatest thing of all.
Le Mans is a kind of the legend of the race, and every people who are in the racing world want to win in the Le Mans.
It all happens on the race circuit. It doesn't happen in the pits, in the garage. It all happens on the race circuit, and this is what you're striving for all the time.
Toyota challenged Le Mans, I think, nearly 40 years, and 3 times we got second. For the racing people, second place means nothing, loser. The first loser. So we really need a first place.
When you have an endurance race car, you're not just worried about the car being technically superb, it has also got to last the distance. Detail must be 100%. If it's not 100%, the car won't finish the distance. This is one of the greatest things I think about an endurance race car.
Sports cars look similar, but aero-wise, it's a very big difference. Only 1 millimeter change of the shape, this comes very big change.
As a chassis engineer, you have to be basically a bit of everything. You have to have the knowledge about the materials you're going to use. But on the other side, you still have to have the background, for example, from engine-related matters, because you still have to integrate the engine into the car. You still have to lay out the cooling. For fuel systems, it's the same. So you really have to have a wide area.
Engine regulation was very simple. Only 3.5 liters, no other restrictions. We can choose 6-cylinder to 12 cylinders. And what we choose was 10-cylinder because of the length of the engines. And also we need horsepower. So we choose 5 valves. So 3 valves for the intake and 2 valves for the exhaust. We aimed to rev very high, up to 13,000 RPM. So it's 20 years before, 13,000 RPM for 24 hours race was a super high rev engine.
This car aerodynamically runs a lift over drag of 6 point something, which is getting on for double what a Formula One car is.
Downforce was very big, so we could put very big diffuser end of the car and very high downforce spec. The drivers were so surprised because they couldn't feel the limit of the car.
The build of the TS020 was for sure a big challenge for us. At that time, very rare to get such a big project outside of Japan. Engine development was done in Cologne together with them. Chassis development was done completely here in Cologne.
The TS020 was a very unique car at the time that it raced. It was quite revolutionary. The form of the car was more rounded, more streamlined looking car, which André de Catans, the chief engineer, was very much into. Everything had to look right as well as perform right, yeah, which it did.
We did a lot of stuff in CAD. Still, the so-called old-fashioned mock-up model was done. So CAD at that time was really used to make the sections, to, for example, make the plywood to build up a monocoque shape and other shapes of the car. The CAD was more used for the big surfaces and the big layout of the car, but the small details were still often done at the mock-up.
Normally a race is fairly simple. You build a car for a race, off you go, load in the trucks and everything, but Le Mans, it just goes on and on and on. It starts with the build of the car initially, then you go into the testing of the car, which several tests, one after the other, endurance tests and so on and so on. And in the end, you realise that you're working for one race in a year and with 3 cars. an immense amount of work. During the races we had a few problems in the first year, 98. We had a few gearbox problems. In 99, generally they were very reliable. Mostly the problems that we had were accidents. And then in the end, the puncture, which cost us our first place. With the spare parts for Le Mans, well, if you could, you'd get a big helicopter and you'd take the factory with you. You take everything with you because there's always the chance that you will use it. And generally, you've taken everything and you still want more.
The technology between the TS020 and TS030, in some aspect, I would say the aerodynamics still for both cars is really important. And due to the regulations, certain areas are changed, basically forbidden what we could do in the TS020 time, which we cannot do now. The other thing for sure is to keep increasing the speed, because we know competitors are also not sleeping. So that is something within the regulations where we are now. What can we do to make the car another step quicker? The TS030 is a unique Toyota car because of the hybrid drivetrain. Reliability is quite high as well, which is important for 24-hour racing, but for sure as well one of the strong points of the Toyota road cars.
For the current hybrid racing development, half of the staff came from the hybrid department, the production department.
Since becoming a project manager, I've tried to make this project affect normal cars. I have been involved with this project since 2006. At that time, the hybrid level was close to that of the production car. The team has continued to advance it year on year and developed many technologies.
When you start racing a car on this sort of level, we can definitely bring a lot of technology back into the road car. This hybrid system that is in the TS030 is much more aligned to a road car than the KERS systems were in the Formula One cars.
To fit all the components inside has been a real challenge. I mean, for sure we had some experience back from one times, but in the end, if you see here the technology and the space available, I think that is even more of a challenge on this kind of car than we had on the Formula One cars. The TS030 used the hybrid boost on the rear wheels instead of the front wheels. This because we did a study what would be the most advantage, and for sure if you apply it to the front wheels you have some advantage of the four-wheel drive car in the wet. But saying that, as well, the regulations allow only front-wheel drive above 120 kph. So all in all, the studies for us have shown that the rear drive would be the best for our car within this regulation.
Our technologies are shared with the whole of Toyota Motor Corporation. I think our technologies related to hybrid systems have developed so much, and we've already translated these into the production division.
When we started the project, we basically had some components which are, for example, used in the priors or other things for the hybrid part. But as for sure in racing, some parts are more demanding.
If we made a conventional sports car, we could apply a supercapacitor system or combine a supercapacitor and hybrid battery system to achieve a similar braking performance. My ultimate goal for the near future is to develop a hybrid sports car using technology accumulated during this project.
I think that Toyota is a kind of the engineering-driven company, and we are very serious to the engineering. So we think that our effort can be a kind of showcase of our engineering.